Okay, we'll continue with the megaloblastic anemia, the second part now. So, the morphology in pernicious anemia is almost similar. The bone marrow and the peripheral blood picture is similar to that of megaloblastic anemia because this is a specific form of megaloblastic anemia. That is why it's same. Biopsy of the stomach shows diffuse chronic gastritis, and you can see fundic gland atrophy. And this, you know, that fundic parietal cells only secrete intrinsic factor, and that is the most important etiology here. The both chief cells and the parietal cells are they are reduced. Glandular epithelium is replaced by mucus secreting goblet cells resembling large intestine, and this is called as intestine metaplasia or intestinalization. And the cells would appear larger in size, that is megaloblastic change, and nucleus is double than the normal size. Tongue of these patients would appear shiny, glazed and beefy. Okay. Coming to central nervous system lesions, florid pernicious anemia can be seen in 3/4 of the cases, and these patients would present with demyelination of the dorsal and the lateral spinal tracts. You can see loss of axons. You can see degenerative changes occurring in the ganglia of the posterior roots and in peripheral nerves in some of the patients. Clinically, these patients may present with spastic paraparesis, sensory ataxia, and severe paresthesias of lower limb. The normal range of vitamin B12 in serum is 280 to 1000 picogram per ml. Values less than 100 picogram per ml indicates clinically deficient stage. Traditional tests employed to establish vitamin B12 deficiency are serum vitamin B12 assay, are Schilling test, that is 24-hour urinary excretion test, which is named after Robert F. Schilling, which is not used right now. Okay, we do a serological assay of vitamin B12. You can also look at the serum enzyme levels. Now, this Schilling test is performed in 3 stages. In the stage 1, oral vitamin B12 along with intramuscular vitamin B12 is given. In stage 2, vitamin B12 and intrinsic factor is given. Stage 3, vitamin B12 and antibiotics is given. Okay. What happens in stage 1? The patient is kept on overnight fasting, and oral dose of 1 microgram of radioactively labeled vitamin B12, which is called as hot B12, in 200 ml of water is given to the patient. At the same time, 1 milligram of unlabeled vitamin B12, that which is called as cold B12, is given by intramuscular route, and this cold B12 will saturate the serum as well as all the tissue binding sites. Okay, the patient is kept fasting for further period of 2 hours, following which the urinary excretion of vitamin B12 is estimated. Okay, in normal individuals, the 24-hour urinary excretion is more than 10% of the oral dose of hot B12 because the intramuscular route, water vitamin B12 given by intramuscular route would have already saturated the tissue binding sites. So obviously, only the oral vitamin B12 has to bind to the intrinsic factor, and then it has to get absorbed in the ileum and it has to excrete in the urine. So in normal individuals, 24-hour urinary excretion is more than 10% of the oral dose of hot B12. But in case of patients with intrinsic factor deficiency, they excrete lower quantity of hot B12, which is further confirmed by repeating the test as in stage 2. In stage 2, if the 24-hour urinary excretion of hot B12 is low, okay, the test is repeated using the same procedure as in stage 1, but in addition, high oral dose of intrinsic factor is administered along with the hot B12. Now, if the 24 hours urinary excretion of hot B12 is low normal, is now normal, okay, the low value in the first stage of the test was due to intrinsic factor deficiency, that is pernicious anemia. Okay, but right now, initially you learnt already, normally patient has to excrete more than 10% of hot B12, that is the oral dose of vitamin B12. Okay, but and otherwise, if intrinsic factor deficiency is there, it would be low. So that is the same thing which we are going to elicit in stage 2, and we are giving along with the hot B12 or the oral dose of vitamin B12, you are giving intrinsic factor. Now, since intrinsic factor deficiency is being compensated, so that will bind to the vitamin B12 and it becomes normal now. That is how you are going to say that it is because of intrinsic factor deficiency, and that is mainly because of pernicious anemia. A low result on the second test implies abnormal intestinal absorption. Okay, if it becomes normal, it is because of intrinsic factor deficiency, but it is still low, then it is because of abnormal intestinal absorption, that is ileal absorption, maybe because of malabsorption. Coming to stage 3, vitamin B12 and antibiotics are given. This stage is useful for identifying patients with bacterial overgrowth syndrome. So, modified Schilling test employs the use of protein bound vitamin B12. In conditions causing malabsorption, the test is repeated after a course of treatment with antibiotics or anti-inflammatory drug. Okay, and if the patient is having bacterial overgrowth, obviously with the antibiotics, the patient will be cured, and then there will be normal excretion. The vitamin B12 absorption will be there from the ileum, and the excretion will also be normal. So that is how you say it was because of intestinal malabsorption. Coming to the diagnosis, the part 1 is mainly oral vitamin B12, part 2 is cold B12, that is intramuscular B12. So the same thing is repeated in all the stages anyways. So part 1 is it is normal, part 2 is like it can be seen in normal or dietary vitamin B12 deficiency. Part 1 result is low, but part 2 it becomes normal, then the problems with the intensive factor production, that is pernicious anemia. Part 1 is low and part 2 is also low, it means that malabsorption, that is terminal absorption is decreased because of bacterial overgrowth. How do you treat megaloblastic anemia? 1000 micrograms for 3 weeks and oral folic acid 5 milligram tablets daily for 4 months. Folic acid deficiency test can be done. The normal range of serum folic acid is 6 to 18 nanogram per ml. Values of 4 nanogram per ml or less is taken as folic acid deficiency. So it can be elicited by urinary excretion of form iminoglutamic acid, serum folate assay and red cell folate assay. That's how you can determine folic acid deficiency. So that concludes megaloblastic anemia. Remember, megaloblastic anemia is mainly because of vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiency, and this leads to impaired DNA synthesis, and that is why there is nuclear maturation lagging behind the cytoplasmic maturation in all the proliferating cells in the body, but more so in case of hematopoietic precursor cells, especially erythroid precursor cells. That's why in the peripheral pool you see on the smear macrocytes, macrovalocytes and hypersegmented neutrophil. In the bone marrow you see megaloblasts. Megaloblasts are large cells and you'll have basophilic cytoplasm, sieve-like chromatin and a prominent nucleoli. And you also see giant metamyelocytes and giant band forms. Okay, sometimes megakaryocytes also appear bigger. Okay, and pernicious anemia is specific form of megaloblastic anemia where autoantibodies are produced, and you have already learned 3 types of antibodies are there, autoantibodies, and the second antibody type 2 is important. Uh, yeah, and how do you determine? Schilling test can be done, and you can do a serological assay of vitamin B12 or folic acid. But Schilling test is outdated, but you still learnt about Schilling test. Okay, and patients of pernicious anemia will have atrophic gastritis as well as beefy tongue. Okay, so this could be the history given to you in the exam, like patient presenting with atrophic gastritis with a beefy tongue and then presenting with macrocytes or megaloblasts in the bone marrow, what would be a diagnosis? And they might ask you to write peripheral smear and bone marrow findings in megaloblastic anemia. Okay, that concludes megaloblastic anemia. Thank you so much.